What is up there, guys? CGF Shock here with CGF Blitz.
Hello there, guys.
And today we are bringing you the second episode of our Premier League fixture predictions. So last week, I think it's fair to say that there's work to be done when it comes to predicting scorelines for myself and Alfie. Out of last week's fixtures, I managed to get a grand total of 0 of them correct. Alfie managed to get 1 of them correct, didn't you?
Yep.
So yeah, our predicting leaves a lot to be desired. Obviously, we're predicting the exact scoreline, so that makes it harder than if we were just to say who was going to win the games. But yeah, I still think there's a lot of room for improvement between us, which goes without saying, really. I think. But should we get into the first game of the weekend, Alfie?
Yep, might as well.
Right, so the opening game of the weekend is Manchester United versus Southampton. Now, obviously Manchester United got quite an emphatic victory against Bournemouth last week. Southampton drew to Watford last week. So, I went for a Man United 2-0 victory, but honestly I could see it possibly even being more like 3 or 4-0. Because Southampton have lost a few of their key players, Sadio Mane being one of the players in particular that I think Southampton are going to miss this season. So yeah, I went with a 2-0 victory, but honestly I think it could be more. What did you go for, Alfie?
I went for a 3-2, but now I'm thinking that I'll change it to a 3-1 Southampton, 3-1 Man U. Only because I don't think Southampton will be able to score another goal. So yeah, I'm going for 3-1 to Man U.
Okay then, fair enough. Should we move on to our second game?
Yep, might as well.
Right then, this is Stoke versus Manchester City. Now, I could see this being a difficult game for Man City. I got them down as winning 2-1, just because I think they're obviously just a different class to Stoke. But Stoke at home, when Stoke are at home at the Britannia, as an Arsenal fan, I know how difficult it can be to go there and get a result. So, I don't know, Man City could struggle. I've gone for them winning 2-1, but you never know. You never know with Stoke. Stoke away could be very difficult. So, you never know, but 2-1 is what I've gone for anyway. What did you think, Alfie?
2-1 I went for as well.
Alright, fair enough.
Yeah, I reckon Man City will just be able to scrape a win. As you said about Stoke, Stoke's ground, Britannia. Yeah, it's quite hard to bring 3 points home, but I reckon they will be able to do it.
Yeah, I reckon they'll just be able to do it as well. Let's move on to the next one then. Watford versus Chelsea. Now, Watford, like I said earlier, drew to Southampton last weekend, which I suppose could be a decent point for them, but I think Chelsea are just going to outclass them here. I went for a 2-0 victory. Diego Costa last week, obviously being a very lucky boy against West Ham, not to get sent off.
Should have done.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm an Arsenal fan. I know what Diego Costa's like, believe me. But yeah, Chelsea beat West Ham 2-1 last week. Obviously, courtesy of Diego Costa, winner late on in the game. So yeah, I went for a 2-0 victory for Chelsea over Watford. I can't really see Chelsea struggling in this one. What do you think, Alfie?
Funny you should say that, because I said the exact same thing. 2-0 Chelsea.
Right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Because they did play pretty well against us, although we wasn't really.
No, you weren't up to the best, were you?
Yeah, we wasn't up to our best. So you never know. Chelsea could have been really rubbish on that day, but we can't really judge them because we was playing terrible. So
yeah,
I reckon 2-0.
Alright, fair enough. Game 4. We move on to Swansea versus Hull. Now, I found this is probably the hardest to predict out of the week's fixtures, because obviously last week Swansea narrowly scraped a victory over Burnley, which is probably a good result after their shocking season last year. But they've lost a few good players. I think they brought in Llorente at striker, which is probably an upgrade on Gomez, to be honest. But I think they're gonna miss Gomez, and obviously Andre Ayew has gone to West Ham. And then Hull, you wouldn't have thought they'd be in with a chance whatsoever. Obviously, just coming up, losing their manager Steve Bruce. They've got about 13 players fit in their whole squad. So they've just about got a starting 11. It's absolutely unbelievable. But of course, last week they beat champions Leicester City. So this put me in a bit of a predicament when predicting the scoreline. But I went with a 1-1 draw. But honestly, this game could go either way. I don't really have much of a clue, to be honest, with this. What do you think, Alfie?
I reckon 2-2.
2-2, okay. Yeah, like I said, almost impossible to predict this one, I think.
Yep.
Right, let's go on to the next one then. So, we have the shit down the road versus Crystal Palace.
I agree with that.
I went with the shit down the road to win 2-0 over Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace have actually got a decent record over Spurs. I seem to remember, I think they knocked them out of the FA Cup last year, which was obviously a little bit of a surprise. But I think Tottenham, as much as it hurts me to say it, I think they've got one of the best squads in the league. Yeah, they drew to Everton last week, of course, but don't underestimate Everton by any means. I think Spurs are going to win this 2-0. I can't see them struggling. And I think Alan Pardew will be the first manager to get sacked this season. Obviously, the second half of last season was absolutely awful for Crystal Palace, apart from their FA Cup run, which was quite impressive, to be honest.
Lucky teams. They've got the draws. I bet they paid them to kind of do that. No, they couldn't have.
Yeah,
but yeah, they was lucky with their draws, weren't they?
Yeah, well, they beat Watford in the semi-final, who knocked us out, Arsenal. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm not complaining though, because obviously Man U won and we got Europe, so.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'm not complaining.
Although I'm sure if it was in any other situation, you wouldn't have been supporting Man U for that. FA
Oh
Cup.
no, not at all. No.
But yeah, I went 2-0 Tottenham, just because I think they're a different class to Crystal Palace. What do you think, Alfie?
I reckon 1-0 to the shit down the road.
All right.
Yeah, just.
Has Balassi left yet? I think Balassi's left Crystal Palace now to move to Everton.
You might have. I'm not sure yet.
And
I've seen that.
Dwight Gale's gone down to Newcastle United, who was their top scorer last season. So, yeah, I think Crystal Palace can really struggle here. And like I said, Alan Pardew to be the first manager to be sacked is my opinion on the matter. Let's move on to the next fixture. Everton versus West Brom. Obviously, like I just spoke about, Everton drew with Tottenham last week. And I think Everton are gonna have a decent season under Ronald Koeman. Obviously, I think they've brought in Balassi. I'm fairly certain of that. Brought in Ashley Williams. They're bringing in. I admire Tottenham in the transfer. I admire Everton in the transfer window. Coming from an Arsenal fan, because they shifted out John Stones for something like 50 million, and then the next day they already had a replacement for him, which shows really good action in the transfer market. And yeah, I mean, it's nowhere near as good as Arsene Wenger, of course. I mean, he's only taken like 3 years to replace Robin van Persie. He still hasn't, but you know, it's still pretty quick, isn't it? So yeah, I think Everton are definitely going to win this game against West Brom, who actually got a win over Crystal Palace last week. But I went with a 2-0 win for Everton. because I think Ronald Koeman's an excellent manager, and he's got to get the best out of the players. What do you think, Alfie?
Everton to win 3-1. Yeah, that's all I can say really.
Alright then, next match. Burnley versus Liverpool.
Woo! Liverpool.
Shut up. So, Burnley losing to Swansea 1-0 last week. Liverpool... I can't
Beating
remember.
Arsenal.
I
can't talk though.
I can't remember. How did Liverpool do last week? I can't really remember.
4-3 to Liverpool. 4-3.
No, surely not. But yeah, Liverpool obviously beating Arsenal 4-3 last week. My only real complaint from that as an Arsenal fan is Wenger doesn't want to go out and spend any money. And he's given players long rests, even though Bakary Sagna was playing for Man City last week. Yet Laurent Koscielny and Olivier Giroud couldn't even get near the squad because they were resting. And even Mesut Ozil, who got to the semi-final, was resting, whilst Aaron Ramsey, who also got to the semi-final, was playing. But, you know, let's not talk about Arsenal. This is about Burnley versus Liverpool. I don't see any problem for Liverpool here. I went with a 3-0 win for Liverpool. I think they're just going to smash Burnley to pieces, in all honesty. What do you think, Alfie?
I reckon 4-2
4-2.
to Liverpool, obviously. Yeah, after beating Arsenal 4-3 last week, I reckon they can easily get another big scoreline and win 4-2. But I reckon Burnley will definitely get at least a goal in it. So I'll just go out on that.
Alright, fair enough. Let's move into the next match. Alright, Leicester City versus Arsenal. Now, obviously, both teams, champions and the runners-up of last season, both got off to losing ways last week. Leicester, obviously, surprise defeat to Hull, and Arsenal, against Liverpool. So, I've gone with my heart rather than my head in this, and said a 2-1 victory for Arsenal. I think we might have a point to prove against them after Jamie Vardy turned us down and Riyad Mahrez is obviously staying at Leicester. I hope our players are going to turn up and try and tear them to pieces. But I think Leicester again are going to have a point to prove against us, because obviously we did a double on them last year. Danny Welbeck scoring a 95th minute header to win the game, to win the away game or the home game for us. But yeah, I went with a 2-1 victory for us, and that is provided that Wenger brings back Koscielny, Giroud and Ozil. If not, who knows? But yeah, 2-1 victory. What do you think, Alfie?
3-2 to Arsenal. Yeah, I reckon Arsenal are actually going to win this game this week. Leicester did poorly last week, but so did Arsenal, so
yeah.
It's hard to judge, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's talks that Mustafi's going to be confirmed tomorrow for Arsenal, but if he's confirmed tomorrow, then he's obviously not going to be ready for the game, is he? So,
nope.
Yeah, we'll probably have to play Chambers and Koscielny at the back, and that's if he brings back Koscielny. So, yeah, I don't know. It all depends on Wenger's decisions. I think he has to get the team sheet just right this week. Right, so let's move on to the penultimate game of the weekend, which is Sunderland versus Middlesbrough.
Yep.
Now, Middlesbrough, obviously newly promoted last week, getting a 1-1 draw with Stoke, which is a fairly decent point for them, to be honest. They've been very active in the transfer market, as I said last week. And I think Alvaro Negredo is going to be amazing for them. And I can honestly see goals in this game because obviously Sunderland have got Jermaine Defoe, who scored something like 14 goals last season at the age of 33 or however old he is, which is which is a pretty good return. And I've gone with Middlesbrough to win this 3-2. Just because I think they've got some very good goal scorers there. Obviously, I've spoken about Negredo and Defoe, but yeah, I think this is going to be quite a high-scoring game. What do you think, Alfie?
I reckon that it is going to be 1-1.
Okay.
Obviously, Middlesbrough are newly promoted, as you said. Sunderland, what was their scoreline last week?
Sunderland last week, they lost 2-1
Lost
to Man
2-1
City.
to Man City. Well, Sunderland have lost out on Big Sam, hasn't he?
Oh,
As
yeah,
we said
yeah.
last week. So I reckon they're going to struggle again. And
They brought in David Moyes, haven't they? So,
yeah, so I reckon it's going to be 1-1.
alright, okay, fair enough. So let's move on to the last game of the weekend, which is your club, West Ham, versus AFC Bournemouth. Now,
Yep.
Bournemouth obviously got, I don't want to say humiliated, but, well, they got humiliated by Manchester United last week. And West Ham obviously lost to Chelsea last week due to some excellent fair play from Diego Costa.
Knocking over Adrian.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? I've gone for West Ham to win this 3-1 just because I think Payet's going to be back in the starting lineup again this week. More than likely.
Lanzini might be fit, I'm not sure yet, but it's just coming back from injury now.
Yeah, I think
so, yeah.
I think West Ham are going to win this 3-1. Seeing as it's at home, they're as of yet undefeated at the London Stadium in a competitive game.
Yep.
Well, it's it's not a guaranteed win though, in my opinion, because last night West Ham drew to Astra Giurgiu, who are like the 9th best team in Romania. So you never know. You never know how it might go. But I went with a 3-1 victory.
So did I.
Just because I think their players are a lot better than Bournemouth's. Although Callum Wilson on his day can turn up and do a job. So
Yeah, I reckon 3-1 as well. As you said, and as I know, first game, BPL game in the London Stadium. Hopefully, with the likes of Falugi, hopefully he's back. I'm not sure though what's happened to
Falugi?
him. Yeah,
You mean Faguli?
no. One sec, let me research.
It's Faguli.
So it is. I've said it wrong. Anyway, Andre Ayew's also injured for 4 months. So yeah,
Is he
I
really?
don't know what's I
Did you
don't know
sign-
what's gonna happen.
Did you sign him injured or did he get injured?
No, he got injured at Chelsea.
That's pretty funny.
Anyway, 3-1.
Any like your record transfer?
Yep.
Right, anyway, 3-1 for both of us on that match then. So, that brings us to the end of the video, guys. Let us know your predictions down in the comments section. Let us know if you think any of our predictions are absolutely miles off. And just what you think of the series. Let us know how we can improve and all that stuff. And is there anything else you'd like to say, Alfie?
Just make sure to follow me on Twitter. I give live updates of like videos going online, so you can find out.
Right.
Just make sure you turn my post notifications on.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
make
thank
sure-
you for watching, guys.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to both of our channels, leave likes if you enjoyed our videos. Links to each other's channels should be in the descriptions. And until next time, guys, adios.
See you later, guys.